Welcome. If you're here, it's because of this question. What's the best way to get more leads? As you know, there's no magic bullet. My name is Greg Chambers. I am with LeadGen Compass, and we are a division of M&C Information Systems. We've been doing business as GoLeads.com and usfarmdata.com over the years, 20 years to be exact. And so this is a new division of our company, and it's based on our 20 years of experience and 5.5 years of trial and error, hundreds of phone interviews, and a few surveys, all related to this product. And well, I should just walk you through it, and let's work on this this question and get to the answer of what's the best way to get more leads for my business. In this webinar, it should take somewhere around 20-25 minutes to get through. We are going to be starting with the 3 reasons why we need lead generation. So we've had enough of these conversations that people are, this is really the main question that people ask is, well, I don't understand exactly why I need this or why I need you to do this for me. We'll talk about these 3 trends: seller beware, drowning in data, and lost in expertise. And then we'll talk about building a cost-effective lead machine. And in the end, we'll have a special offer for your company, and as a quick thank you for sitting through the presentation. Let's start here. The role of the seller is changing. It used to be that, right, the state attorneys general would say it's buyer beware. You need to arm yourself as a buyer. You need to know that you don't have all the information. And when you make a purchase, it's really on you to be as informed as you can possibly be. Well, if we say that the way that people make decisions has not really changed much over the years. I could probably go back and find some examples of this that are ancient, but it's a problem. We start with a problem, right? A recognition that we need less of something or more of something. That leads us to research possible solutions to that problem. After researching those solutions, we usually settle down on a few options for how to get there, and then work on what I would consider the purchase rate, which is the best deal. So if the old way, it was prospect, right? Our prospects would come up with the problem. They would start to do some of the research. And then at that point, they would need to start to turn to these sellers before they could work through the rest of their purchasing cycle. What's happening now is that the prospect is filling up most of the bucket, right? With researching the problem, finding the solution, and then coming all the way down to the best deal before they talk to any of our sellers. So why is this an issue? Well, if you're still holding on to the idea that that your buyers need to come to you to get most of the information, that's not the way that the buyers are thinking, right or wrong. I'm not saying that all the information is out there for them to make a great decision. Talking to doctor friends, you get to hear about all sorts of horror stories about Dr. Google misdiagnosing what the problem is. But you can either fight with this or you can work with it, right? What we're saying is that if it's this way today, and then if it's going to be just getting worse, the longer we have these devices in our hands and the more information that gets put onto into the search engines, you need to work with this. And this would be a reason why you would use a company like LeadGen Compass to help you, is because we've been working with this model for quite some time. We accidentally stumbled upon it with GoLeads, and we've used it ever since. The second question is, what do you do with all that data, right? Too much data. If the problem is too much data, then the easiest way to work with too much data, right? Our prospects having too much, our internal people having too much information is, well, and I don't know if that's a problem, as I was just about to say, and then you work through that. But what gets measured gets managed, right? So we need all this information so that we can actually manage it. But how do you do it when it comes to navigating for lead generation? For this, I have a little 2x2 grid to show you that we can work through. And what you need to cut through all that data and to get to the most important parts of your business that you can manage is you need a clear vision to cut through the noise. So when it comes to lead generation, if we think of leads along a continuum from we're not able to produce leads on a regular basis all the way over to we can produce leads day in, day out, and we know exactly what's coming in. And we think about those leads as being on a continuum from being profitable up at the top, where these are great leads, they're exactly what we want, all the way down to fruitless. Sure, we generated the phone call, but wow, what a waste of time in talking to those people. When we're good at producing leads, but we have a lot of, I'm not saying all of them are bad, but a lot of them are bad, our people tend to get disconnected. We've seen this internally, that when you know that there's some pretty good ones, but man, there's a lot of fluff to go through. There's a lot of, humans are like the best pattern recognizers in the world. Oh, that's a Yahoo address. That's not going to be a good one. Oh, that's, they're inquiring about that product. That's not going to be a good lead. There's all sorts of things that go on. So your people get disconnected is the general point there. On the other side, if you have great leads, and only great leads that are coming through, but nobody knows when they're coming through. This was in a previous company that I worked in. Most people are just distracted. And what they're distracted is why they're distracted is they're waiting for that phone to ring. They're waiting for the Bluebird to come in, right? The Glengarry leads to come through the door. And they don't do the rest of the selling activity that's required of them. So the reason why LeadGen Compass came around is because what we're after is we want to move further up the continuum. If you're producing a lot of leads and they're not great, we want to help you move that towards profitable. If you can not generate leads on a regular basis, but the ones you do are pretty good, the ones you do generate are pretty good, we want to move you more towards that predictable stage. And the reason for that is because what our team needs is we need a team that anxiously awaits each and every lead and gets excited about every single one of them. So when we have this, we have that vision of predictable and profitable. That's what helps us cut through all the data, cut through all the noise. So the other reason why you would need something like what I'm about to describe, this LeadGen Compass predictable lead machine, is because if you're anywhere besides producing profitable and predictable leads, there's a good chance that there's something missing inside your company. And the third reason is the process is the same, content isn't, I say, but that's the idea that no matter how niche your business is, right? So the question usually comes up because people say, but what do you guys know about my business? My snappy response would be, well, the last thing you need when you're trying to do a project like this, when you're trying to build a predictable lead machine, is more industry experts. What you need are some process experts. So while in most cases, the people I talk to, they know enough about their business that I don't need to know so much. What I need to know is the process, and LeadGen Compass is built on that particular process. So no matter how niche your business is, there's a process that works. And I can, and let's just walk through that. Let's test Greg's theory on that. The companies we work with are on a continuum from talking to businesses or targeting consumers. And they tend to be on a continuum of hyper local businesses, maybe even we have a couple neighborhood businesses, all the way to some national businesses where they're targeting the globe, if not targeting internationally. If we think of Amazon as being the example of business to consumer national, the way that they develop business is, in the end, is it a lot different than the way the cosmetic dentist does? They certainly have a lot more brand recognition on that side than the local cosmetic dentist. But I would claim that when you're talking to consumers, it's very similar in how that consumer is going to be making that decision. And there are lessons that the cosmetic dentist can take from a behemoth like Amazon in how to develop these leads. On the business to business national side, take a big company like Cintas, right? So they've got plants all over the US. They've got trucks all over the road. I almost got ran off the road by one. That's why they made my list the other day. Selling mats, selling uniforms. I don't even know what else, rags. But they have the way that they are developing business is that much different than our local pallet provider. The local pallet provider, right? He's got to go knock on doors just like Cintas does. Inside of this example is the process for everybody in developing new business is not all that much different, but the content, but the content generally is, right? So that's why I say the process is the same, but the content isn't. Our sweet spot, the LeadGen Compass lead machine sweet spot, is really on the B2B side. It's going to be if you are expanding from being a local business, right? If the pallet provider came to me and he had one location and it was in Omaha, Nebraska, my advice would be, you really got to get out and knock on the doors. I mean, the people you're going to be providing pallets for are in the area more than they're going to be looking online. Go, be Joe's pallet provider and go let them know who you are today. That you don't need a lead machine for that. But when the pallet provider starts expanding from Omaha, Nebraska into Des Moines, Kansas City, and throughout the Midwest, that's where we shine, because no longer is it, Joe's Pallets. It's more of a Cintas type approach. So that's one of our sweet spots, is right in there, is when that local starts to go national and it's a little more business to business on the top side. On the consumer side, a lot of what we do is really not meant for the Amazons of the world. It's much more meant for the people who are targeting consumers. We'll use a lot of the same techniques. We'll actually use Amazon as a channel for some of our advertising tests. But if you're a local business and you target consumers, you would be another company that we can help, because we can usually generate consistent leads for you right there. So that's why LeadGen Compass would work for you if you don't have something like that. If you don't have predictable, profitable lead generation, that's what we can help you get. So that's the goal, right? Is a predictable lead machine for all these reasons. But the big one is when you know what leads are coming in, you can make better business plans. We've seen this ourselves. Our bankers, we worked with an attorney who, once they got the predictable lead machine to come on, they started getting a higher price per partner, because the future partners were saying, we can see where the business is coming from. We don't have to worry about the one thing that we're terrible at. So when you can attract better talent, when you can uncover better opportunities, and of course get the funds from the increased revenue, that's all a bonus. And here's the kicker, and what we've had the hardest time trying to figure out is it has to fit your particular sales cycle. This isn't a one size fits all, even though it's a one size process that may fit all. And it'd be really awesome, says everybody who had ever worked with GoLeads or US Farm Data, excuse me, if it were cost effective, that's the best way to go. So as long as we can meet all this criteria, right, to build a predictable lead machine, then we would have something that would be of interest to customers. And this is, so now I've just given you a little history of where we're coming from on this. And the reason it's needed is because even today, we're seeing Forrester, our friends over at Forrester, they tell us that there's 100,000 software companies that are out there right now. And from our work that we've done with marketing and sales technology, the MARTECH stack and the sales tech stack, we know that there's about 5,000 companies that are focused on marketing and sales, software as a service, somewhere in the US. Actually, that kind of goes worldwide. But the interesting thing is that that same Forrester report says that they wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years there was 1 million. I put 100 million on there. I apologize. Not 100 million, 1 million companies. And if the percentages hold, that 5% of 1 million is going to be 50,000. So if you can't hear me laughing, this is So I am recording this live. This isn't like some taped script. This is real. But when I look at that number 50,000, all I think is that's 50,000 more email approaches that I'm going to get. That's 50,000 more calls. Hey, I'd like to give you some information. I'm just following up on some information that's going to be out there. And that's just to help me sell my product. What we've done is we figured out a way to cut through all this clutter and figure out which of these tools is going to be the right one for you. I mean, that's really why we started this whole thing. So the way we do it is we focus on process, right? The saying that we have internally is it's a process, it's not an event. And this little drawing is what we use internally to kind of keep track of everything. We try to drive all of our activity through one place so that we can create a system that can get smarter, right? So if an algorithm is defined as a process or a set of rules for problem solving, we're not going to approach this like Maslow says with a hammer thinking everything like thinking, oh, it's got to be like a nail. I'm just going to pound the heck out of this thing. We can alter our approach based on the tools. What we have that most people don't is we have exposure to so many of these tools because we've either sold to them, had to integrate with them, or tried to put them in use ourselves. So the goal is to get all this kind of a system to work for you, to build a little lead machine and to price it right. And I want to talk a little bit about this whole price right thing, because the key to this piece, if you look in the middle of that little cloud, is your site, right? Your site traffic and getting calls, forms, and getting into a CRM. And to make that happen, it's critical that we have a website, right? That works, and it's a lead generation website. So how do we build that cost effectively? Because if you look out there, right, you get quotes anywhere from, well, I've seen Network Solutions, I think will build you one for a couple $100, $2,500, 5,000, 10,000. So how is it that we can, this is the first question we asked ourselves is how can we do this in a cost effective way? The second question we asked ourselves is lead generation, the way we do it requires content, right? To create, manage, and share. You've seen these little devices, the Google Home and the Amazon Alexa and the Amazon Dot. My kid at college, I was just saying in a webinar, we checked them into college, and guess what every room has now is a little Amazon Dot. It's kind of like, I'm going to date myself, but back in the day, it was, we got free cable TV. Hey, it's free for paying for the dorm. And all it did was hook me on ESPN. Anyways, content, what are we going to do when if content is what drives our buyers to our website, and if our buyers are going to continue to ask questions of these devices, how many times is Alexa being asked what the best small business CRM is today? Probably not very many times. How many times will she be asked something like that? I say she. See, I'm already doing it. I'm turning it into a human being. How many times is it going to be asked in the future? I'd say a lot more as we become more comfortable with these devices. So to make content that is not only effective for our buyers, because it helps them make their decisions without the presence of a salesperson to help them interpret all the information. What about the stuff, the syntax, right? The robots that are trying to teach us how to talk like them. How much does it cost to build that kind of content and build it on a regular basis? You can find it out there for $50 an article. You can go all the way to $500 for somebody who actually knows how to write and maybe has even studied a little bit how machine learn, the natural language processing and artificial intelligence and machine learning, how they're parsing that content on the website to answer these particular questions. Who's going to do that? And how do we do that in a cost-effective way? What about with managing search engines, right? Lead generation and search engine marketing go hand in hand. We've got search engine optimization. You have AdWords, right? Bing, so the Facebook ads, Twitter ads. Who helps manage all that stuff? And how much do you pay? You know, again, I've seen it everywhere from, it was $500 a month here, it was $750 a month there, $1,000. A few of these plans were actually built on the more you spend on the ad channel, the more that it costs to manage it, which I get, but it's like a climbing commission rate. Over time, it can get to be pretty expensive. So we've had to figure out a way to do this. in a cost-effective way. And we know, because we've been selling databases for 20 years, that great lead generation requires a robust marketing database, right? We need to append information to your existing data so that we can learn from it. We need to take that information and then profile your customers into different segments, match on them, and find more leads that look just like them. How much does a good data processor cost to get your information in line? As we know, because we've charged for it, it's not cheap. And to put all this stuff together, right, you've got, oh gosh, I forgot. I got to talk about the people. What about your people? Who helps keep all this stuff together? That guy's supposed to be probably a millennial Generation Z marketer type. And what activities are they focused on a regular basis? Because inside of all that work that I just described, some of it is high gain activities and some of it is just a lot of busy work. If you could get them to just focus on the highest gain activities and had someone else to take care of the busy work, what kind of gains are you going to get from there? A 1% bump? For us, 1% is a pretty significant number only because it compounds, right? So 1% improvement by our people every day tends to double their performance, double their expertise every 70 days. So 1% is nothing to sneeze at, but we've seen businesses where just by focusing on the highest gain activities, we can see 10% bumps in leads, in sales, and other activities. So I guess the point of all this is a predictable lead machine can be expensive to build. It can be even more expensive to maintain. Just by these estimates, it can cost anywhere from $3,000, $7,500 one time, then ongoing to keep the machine moving and keep it working, $2,000 to $5,000 a month. We consider all this building and working the machine. Our goal in setting the LeadGen Compass system up is, how do we balance every single thing that we've been talking about into a system that is something that we would enjoy and that we would like to use? So this is what we came up with. We came up with a very complicated grid, but I'm going to walk you through it. Basically, the way to read it is the velocity moves from left to right, and that the faster you want to generate results, the faster you want to work through tests, the more money you have to invest in this program. We made it available so that you could almost outsource an entire lead generation program to us on the far right. But I want to talk about what happens here on the left. The first thing is one of the things that we noticed when we were putting all this together is you rarely needed any one of those tools. If we think of all of these things that we just covered as tools, you rarely need every single one of them all the time. So if you think of a concurrent period of time, which is generally a month, we are managing what you're outsourcing to us is the management of a couple of these tools. You also get access to our database, because the one thing that seemed to be missing from most of the people that we were doing market research with is the whole database component. So you need access to information so that you can follow up. If nothing else, do some account-based marketing where you can identify leads and work with them. So you get access to that database. All this, we could talk about email prospecting and CRM data management. Those things tend to need a little bit more activity in order for us to make them work the way that we do it. But we do work in 4-month sprints. That was important. That was important to me only because I've got, just to give you a random example, a long time ago, my kids got cell phones. And as they've become young adults, I have a friend my same age whose children are much younger. And he called because he said, I know you've already been through this before. When do you get your kid a mobile phone at the time? I said, I don't know if that's the right question, because I think the right question is, when do you get them off the mobile phone? So 4 months is plenty of time for us to get some activity going, and especially when we take a look at leading indicators of effectiveness. And then it's renewable each 4-month period after that. But we tried to make it affordable, and then we try to work quickly inside of 4-month sprints, because why sign up with us forever when we have no idea if it's going to if we're going to like each other going forward. And it kind of goes both ways. So there's an out in there for us too. To set up the entire system, we've got that down to where we can do it pretty effectively and get it all talking to each other for $1,000. And then we recommend an ad budget. So the ad budget, when people are working through measurements and saying, hey, what is your cost per lead and cost per acquisition? That's really driven by the ad budget. So when we take a look at this piece up at the top, we consider that working the machine. But then down here, this is what feeds the machine. And that's your target cost per lead, cost per acquisition. And that's what drives most of the activity that we're working with. And we have worksheets and things like that. If I say cost per lead, cost per acquisition, and your eyes start to glaze over, we have ways to help you work through that. The main point I'm trying to make is that we have put together a system that we think that very few people can do, because it's hard for somebody to do all of it and to do it effectively. The reason it works is because if you take something that's high priority and low priority, right? A continuum of high priority to low priority and a continuum of low impact to high impact. If it's high priority and low impact, that's what this system takes care of. If it's high priority but low impact, it needs to get done today, but is it going to help us? We don't know. That is also something that LeadGen Compass helps with. Because what you need to focus on, right? Nobody's going to focus on the low impact, low priority stuff, but you need to focus on the highest priority, highest impact activities. And that's where we can see a gain, right? Sometimes it's in the activity that we're doing, and sometimes it's the fact that we're freeing up you to do more of the things that you do best. Again, LeadGen Compass. So you found us somehow, probably because you did business with us as GoLeads or US Farm Data. We've put this program together so that we can help you with lead generation, and we've put together something that we would use. Our criteria is pretty simple. We love things where we take cost versus value and kind of grid that out. If we can provide something that is of high value and is low cost and do it out here in the middle, Omaha, Nebraska, we love it, and it's what we're best at. So my joke is we're farmers. And what do? We get the crops in the field and we get fruit on your table. So that's what LeadGen Compass is set up to do. So to answer that question, what's the best way to get more leads for my business? It is to build a lead generation machine. It is to do it in a way that focuses on process, where you can add your knowledge, right, your expertise into it, and to not fall for anything that smacks of being an event or a quick win. So we feel that LeadGen Compass is that tool, and we would love to talk to you more about it. So the idea was that we were going to give you something of value, and the biggest thing we can give of value, and some people have said, oh, free lead generation analysis. Oh, what is that? After they've received it during our pilot program, as we were launching this product, we've already worked through 400 people and signed up. There's been a couple dozen guinea pigs that have already gone through ahead of you that have helped us. We have a lead generation analysis that you will find value in. And if nothing else, it makes us feel good that we've done something to help you. And you may be able to just use it internally and generate new business. At the same time, we would love for it. We would love if you took a look at it and said, you know what, maybe it's best if they do that for the price that they charge. Call us 402-334-1824, leadgencompass.com. It's full of information. Again, if we can help, we would love to help you build your predictable lead machine. My name is Greg Chambers. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your time.